Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your host, Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining me for this episode, I have comic book writer and entertainment journalist,
Stephanie Williams.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you co-hosting again. I really like that you've joined the fam of like a co-host.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably going to just text you one day and be like, I've established that for myself, but I'm really happy to hear you like officially say it.
Yeah, do you want to introduce our guests we have today?
I sure do. So host of Alastair Reviews It on YouTube, we have
Alastair Patton.
Hi.
And then next to that, we have host of Stand By Me and freelance writer and baby boy,
Aaron Reese.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi.
Stephanie's making fun of me because I called him baby. I always call people baby boy.
No.
if they're a loved one.
I love it.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about Invincible. I got a lot of, when I said that May was going to be a month for the podcast that like kind of we could do some one-offs, a lot of people actually were asking for this, and the episode I had planned for today fell apart. So I was like, well, Invincible just ended and people were asking about it. Why don't we do an episode on it? And I asked Stephanie because she is my resident comic book expert, and she was down. And then I asked Aaron and Alastair because I knew they both loved the show. This show, I can see why some people were hesitant because from the looks and from the promos, it feels just like you're very like par for the course superhero stuff, right? You can't, it's hard to say how different it is without you actually watching the episodes, I think. Which I would even say that first episode, which is strong, still felt like very good YA superhero stuff to me until we get that end. And I want to know first, before we get into talking to the show, your reactions to that end of episode 1. Aaron, what was your reaction?
I think Invincible is I would say that it's quite profound in the sense that it's indicative of what American animation is doing right now. And I think more so than the plot, I was just really fascinated with the type of animation, the voice cast, and the world that it sort of like quickly established within episode 1. I might ruffle some feathers saying this, but I think it achieves what The Boys is trying to do quite better, in my opinion.
Ooh, he came with a hot take.
I mean, yeah, always.
But you read the comics, right? So you knew that this was coming.
Yes. So I read again, and there's like a ton of these books, but I did read like the first 3 to 4 volumes. So yes, most of the things that happened in like the first 2 to 3 episodes, like I did see coming, but the pacing is a lot different in a comic as well. So in terms of like certain like plot reveals and things like that, those things kind of vary. But yes, I was aware. I was waiting for it.
Alastair, what was your first reaction to that end?
So I watched it on like a Saturday morning, and I was just like chilling, having breakfast, my coffee, and it just seemed like like you said, like it almost feels like a wholesome like episode that is just like taking like superheroes that we kind of know from Marvel and from DC, and then just revamping them so that it's in this Invincible world. But that ending, once that ending happened, I got up. I was standing up watching that ending. I could not believe what I was watching. It was like him just absolutely obliterating them. And the one that I keep on thinking about is the guy who was like the Batman version. Was it Darkwing?
Yeah.
And the way he just died so fast. And I kept on thinking that's actually what possibly could happen between actually Batman and Superman. So I don't know. It was kind of satisfying to watch. And I was so glad that there was 2 more episodes after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Stephanie?
I loved it. Actually similar to Aaron, I kind of felt like the show does a better job of doing what The Boys thought that it did for season 2. Because that first season, I'm still like, okay, I can get with this. But as far as like translating to comics, it's just really interesting how close to the comics Invincible was able to be versus the boys, where they had to like damn near revamp everything because it's just, I don't know, like just offensive for just no reason at all other than just being offensive. So that was the thing. And then also like that ending, it caught me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it to happen so early. However, I loved it. I ended up loving that it did happen early because I love that they turned this whole thing of like, you know, having Debbie like actively suspect like, you know, her character arc for giving her more to do leading up into like that very terrible thing that's said to about her in the very last episode. And also like I just love Mark's characterization and even Omni Man Nolan. So, I mean, does he say some shit that is really fucked up and completely destroy not a whole city, well, it destroys a planet, but destroys a bit of Chicago to prove a point? Yeah, he does. But, you know, let's bring back villains that we want to fear and hate instead of, you know, trying to toe the line of, well, he has a point, but he doesn't because he's a fucking colonizer and I want him dead.
And I want him dead. Yeah, I can remember I watched this stoned, but just like I was like, oh, like I think same thing with you, Alistair. I think we might have started like the same time, Alistair. Like I had 3 episodes and I was like, cool, this is cool. This is like it felt before we got to that end, it felt like very good superhero storytelling, like very par for the course, but still like well done. Clearly the cast is like fucking great. And yeah, Stephanie, that's a good point. I feel like even though it's a superhero origin story and that stuff doesn't feel that different, Mark still comes off as like way more likable than a lot of superheroes in origin stories do. Like, and I have a lot of trouble. I'm like such like a gay grump, right? Especially if it's a straight dude. I'm always like, we've done this a million times. I don't care about a straight dude's superhero origin story. You know, he's like right at that age where he's like 17 or 18. That's like the age they always make them. Like it just felt, but this worked. And I liked it before we got to that end. And then I remember I got to that end. I remember my like mouth was just like wide open. I was like, what the fuck? Like when he like punches through the green lady's just like face after splattering Nightwing and like throwing his remains on her. And she's just like, oh shit. And he like punches a fucking hole through her head. Like the violence is like over the top, but it still works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It doesn't really services the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just real quick, like I wonder though, are we all for the most part so receptive to Mark because it's Steve Ewan and it's not some random white guy? Because I feel like for me personally, like that played a huge role in that.
I would have to agree.
I think you're right. And actually, I wanted to bring up the fact that so Stephanie and Aaron have read the comics. Alistair and I have not. But you mentioned in the comics, he's not Asian, right?
No.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that makes me, I like that. I like that they changed it to him because hands up, I'm not a big Walking Dead person. So I don't know much of the actors from it, but I knew he was from The Walking Dead. But I was like, shit, now I understand because I remember him being killed and people being mad. And I was like, he is very charming. I understand why people were upset when they killed his character.
He was amazing in The Walking Dead. And like he started off with such a wholesome role. Like he was a pizza delivery guy that like saved Lincoln's character. Like I think in like episode 4 or 5, once he like escapes the hospital and like starts exploring downtown Atlanta. But his character arc actually reminds me a lot of what Invincible himself goes through. He kind of starts to shed skins of innocence, if you will, and it makes him not only likable, but I feel like it makes him relatable. And I feel like in this case, like I feel like I kept having to remind myself, Ian, to your point earlier about being like, you know, a grumpy gay. I felt like a lot of the choices that he would make, I would go like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And then go, oh, right. He is a 17-year-old privileged boy.
Yeah.
And this makes all the sense. And there's this interesting dynamic that I feel like has not really been honed in on in a lot of superhero medium, which is sort of like the passing of the mantle to the young, like to the younger receptor. I feel like we don't really get to spend a lot of time with those type of stories. The best I can think of is actually Young Justice that does that well. You know, Aqualad and Aquaman, obviously all the Robins and Batman, all that good stuff. But I feel like here you kind of, you know, like to crap, what is that horrible quote from the Dark Knight trilogy where it's like, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Very much sort of that energy, and like my heart kind of broke for him in the finale. Like when you actually, like when you see the realization hits his face that like who his father really is, and the things that he, to Stephanie's point earlier, the things that he says about his mother, you're just like, damn, like I get it.
That hurt my feelings, right?
It did. I was like, what?
Like, this woman you loved, who loved you, you're gonna find. Like, I really, even at that moment, I thought he was gonna say, your mother's the exception, is what I totally thought he was gonna say, but no.
I know.
He calls her a fucking pet. Like,
it was
Jesus.
a very Tyra, like, we're all rooting for you. Like, we were all rooting for you because, you know, in my head, and I think Stephanie already knows this, but like he was definitely Daddy Omni Man to me, and that's fine. But once this finale happened, I was like, okay, let me just sit with the fact that you truly are a colonized asshole.
It's crazy because like I was thinking after I watched the finale, okay, so he said all that horrible stuff, but he was sent there to weaken the planet, you know, to get it ready for takeover by the Viltrumites or whatever. But he spent 17 years just like, you know, having a family and doing all that other stuff. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me that he would just like be like, oh, I'm just going to chill for 17 years. And
right,
then
it's a lot
like
of dicking around for 17 years.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I feel like there's probably a different layer to that. Cause like, oh, when he said that line about the mother and then you saw her see that, gosh.
Yeah.
And son, I'm like, don't disrespect Sandra Oh like that.
Right? Queen.
But so, yeah, the show, we get a lot of, because we know that Omni Man, it's an interesting bit of storytelling, right? Because I'm usually, you know, Steph, when we talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'm usually all about like leaving the reveal to the end. Like, I think Sharon Carter, that reveal shouldn't have been there till she walked out of that courthouse. I think lots of times the reveal, it's better to leave it, but I think this worked better because you were so stressed about like, is Omni Man going to try to murder Mark and his mother, is like all I kept thinking about like every other episode. And they did a good job of showing us, you know, I mean, we knew he was Superman level, but we didn't know, like, we don't really see Superman doing murders like this unless it's in like an alternate dimension or like some other like one-off whatever. But seeing that he could like you said, Aaron, he splatters that dude just like by full force of smacking him on the ground. You see just how like violent he is, and he didn't seem to care. Like, I remember the first person he kills, I don't remember the character's name, but it's like the speedster dude who's like actually doing a good job of like helping people not die. Then he just grabs him and like smushes his fucking face in. Like, he isn't just like, you know, poisoning these people. He's like brutally murdering them. So you know that he's capable of like flicking his finger and making your head pop off and doesn't give a shit. So like, you know, as the mom's investigating, I found myself almost being like, no, just stop looking. Just like relax, have some wine, forget about that book the demon left you.
No, seriously, because when he kind of almost catches her, what is that, in episode 2 or 3? Like, I was just nervous for Debbie the whole time. And I don't remember feeling that way while reading the comic. Not saying that I was never worried for her, because after her and Mark have that big fight, I mean, well, no, he and Mark have that big fight. I was like, oh, shit, like, what's going to happen next? But the show, by having that scene, that very like prominent get scene happen at the end of episode 1, like they really did themselves a great service for setting the tone and letting you know early on, like, even if you do find Omni Man fuckable, just know He will break your spine, and not in the way that you want him to.
Yeah.
Oh, the realization. I mean, what's even more terrifying though is like I think those moments perfectly book in themselves in the first episode and a finale, in the sense that a little comic tidbit. Do you guys remember like the 3 Viltrumites that were like standing next to that pile of bodies in the finale? Like,
I do. The bad bitch with
Yeah.
the braid.
okay, yes, the bad bitch with the Mortal Kombat style braid. Yes, they are marginally worse. Like,
Really?
yeah,
Mm-hmm. It gets. They make Omni Man look like Elmo.
yes,
Oh, shit.
very much that. And so, what I kept thinking once the finale happened, I was just like, "Oh shit!" But the rest of the Viltrumites are coming, and I'm like, and I don't think obviously within the context of the episodes that we've seen, it doesn't look like Omni Man is giving anyone a sense of grace, but comparatively speaking, like Stephanie said, like he is quite soft compared to his compatriots, and I'm just like, I really don't know how y'all gonna stop this.
Yeah.
So seeing Debbie walk into the the costumers shop, at first I was thinking, oh shit, is she gonna suit up and then just like do something and say, I don't know. For some reason when she walked in there, I was like, oh shit, is something gonna happen where she's like does something, against Omni Man or something? But I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I really wanted it to happen.
Now she does do something, not against Omni Man, actually, unfortunately, helping him out because she has a heart. But I don't want to spoil that because I'm pretty sure that'll be in season 2. It has to be in season 2.
Oh, I'm looking forward
But
to
Omni, like Nolan, is a fuck boy all the way through and through, and it gets very. It gets very Murray Povich at some point in this show. Very Ricky Lake-ish. A little bit of Tyler Perry and drama. So just be ready.
Holes in different area codes.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like meet a lot of our characters in this. Well, the characters we meet are the Guardians of the Globe who then get fucking murdered. But so we're introduced to the Mauler Twins. We meet who will be characters throughout the whole season. I kept waiting for them to just like get murdered. They're kind of like reoccurring side bad guys, but also like science bros. We meet. What'd you say?
I said Space Devos.
Yeah. We meet his best friend William, his gay best friend. Who is he gay in the comics? His best friend.
Yep.
Oh, he is. That is very. I assumed that was a change. I am surprised.
Surprisingly, right?
Yeah.
Kirkman does have a pretty significant amount of queers in his comics.
No, I think I just mean surprising in the. I don't know, like just surprising in if people were like unfamiliar with, Invincible and Kirkman or whatever, and just coming to this, you know what I mean? Like coming to the show, like, oh, wait, so they do a thing with a gay best friend who is active.
Yes, that's the thing I actually really liked William's character because I like that he isn't just, he's a gay best friend, but he isn't just a gay best friend, right? Like he actually is like a fleshed out character. He gets to do stuff. When he's gone for a few episodes, they like remark about the fact that he hasn't talked to Mark in a while. He like makes a passing comment about like, that's where you've been all these months. Like I haven't talked to you. And he gets like his own episode where he has like a boyfriend who I was kind of like, oh, is this boyfriend gonna die? And then like he kind of doesn't, which made me happier. It's like, okay, we're not just killing the first love interest the gay character got. And the really smart thing they did with William, which I will say made me tear up, when William immediately recognizes Invincible when Invincible saves him. And he's like, Mark? Like right away, because that makes sense. And I like that even later on we learn that, what's her name? Is it Alana? Amber, that Amber also recognized. She was like, yeah, of course I know you were Invincible. Like I really liked them doing that because if like it's your friend and they're just in a mat, they still have the same voice, still like it would make sense that people would recognize him.
But I feel like the gag about that is that like neither one of them recognized Eve.
I know, that was hilarious.
And Eve really did deserve that, but it's just kind of like, hey girl, like you can do all these amazing things with your powers. I think it's time for you to like workshop some stuff because the girls don't know who you are, and that's a problem.
Right.
I'm the pink one. I'm like, damn, you are damn bad.
Oh, I hate her costume so much.
I love her powers too. I was almost surprised that she didn't try to join in the fight. But
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, let's go through some of the characters. So we also meet Eve. She's part of. Is it? I get all of some of the names are stupid on purpose, like Teen Team. I was like,
yes.
Is it on purpose?
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
So in the second episode, we meet Teen Team, and we meet Robot and Rexplode and Adam Eve, and she's one of his classmates. There's that weird alien invasion that like murders a lot of people.
The Flaxens.
Are they like reoccurring aliens in the comic?
But I am more so, listen, I have never wanted to slightly twerk to an alien's theme music so much as the Flaxens, because every time the production was just hot. It was tight. I was like, who did this?
Aaron, they're like murdering at the city, and you're like, good for you, honey. That's a good song.
Right? I'm like, yes, Disco Queen, go off.
But I want them to get vengeance. I cannot wait. I'm hoping that there is a storyline where they get vengeance against Omni Man.
Okay. Yes and no.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that there is. That's all I'm saying. Because I know there's leftovers because we had like a brief like snippet of it at the end of the last episode. So
yeah, they have more than a few moments in the comics. But I also I feel like the Flaxens are a really good example of something that the show does exceptionally well that works as both incredible commentary about the comic space and then like furthers the plot in a way that's really intelligent. Like, I don't know, it's very reminiscent, like it's very much similar to like what the Scream movies did, I feel like. And I feel like the Flaxens is probably one of the best examples because it seems like such a silly, just like, okay, they're doing this thing again. And then the way that they impact those like certain characters' futures that should go unnamed for now is quite fascinating. Like, you don't really take it seriously. And I feel like this is the way that we read villains like this, like the Skrulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also meet Robot, who's voiced by Zachary Quinto, which is another stupid name. But so these heroes are important because they, become part of the new Guardians of the Globe. Omni Man, we learned that Omni Man isn't quite happy that his son has powers. They're due a lot of training, and he's always a little like too tough love dad, where I'm like, you're being a little bit of an asshole, and then I'm like, oh wait, also you're a murderer. So like there was a lot of that going on where it'd be like, oh, Omni Man is doing something, and then I'm reminded that he's also a murderer. So I liked not knowing. I think the reveal of not knowing why was good. I think it was good holding on to that, but letting us know that he's a cold-blooded killer and he doesn't fucking care who he murders. We get that. We get the new Guardians of the Globe tryouts. It's mostly Teen Team, but the new addition is Monster Girl. It's Monster Girl and
the Shrinking Ray.
Right. What the hell's her name? Is that her name?
You know what? I don't even know if they've referred to her anything outside of that, but Shrinking Ray is her name. But now you have me wondering because I don't recall.
Well, so it doesn't really matter. That character barely has any lines. We also get, God, what's the other character that they keep calling like joking because he's older?
Oh, he wears a suit, then he ends up getting his powers back.
Black Samson.
Thank you. I knew it was something like that.
Oh, that name! Wow,
Onyx.
So, but the thing is that he was a Guardian, right? He was one of the Guardians of the Globe.
Until he lost his powers.
Right. We also meet Alan the Alien, voiced by Seth Rogen, which was a character I really liked.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a character that I actually really liked in the comics too. So I was very happy to see Alan the Alien. And Seth actually fits that energy, so it worked out.
Perfect.
He really does, right? Like, I felt like that was a lot of these voice actors are really good choices. And I kind of like that he's like there to like fight, but then isn't. And then they just like chill and talk on some rocks on the moon.
Yeah.
Like every one of these people is voiced by someone famous.
There's also Cecil.
Right,
Oh, Cecil.
yes.
Oh, yes.
I low-key kind of hope Cecil and Mark's mom get together.
No. I think with what we get at the end of the last episode with him building that huge army of cyborgs, like I feel like Cecil is definitely not a good person.
He is a
Because you have to do that to people, like
right. He's a Nick Fury that goes too far. Like, because like Nick Fury, you would think that he would do that, but he just wouldn't. He doesn't have the gumption for it. But Cecil does.
But Maria Hill, however.
Yeah, Maria Hill, on the other hand, she's like, run me them bodies because we got an army to build.
well, Cecil's more like the ends justify the means kind of guy.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah. So he's going to do bad things for what he perceives as like, good solutions.
And he has his reasons for that too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he banishes Damien Darkblood, who felt like he was the only, like I really liked Damien Darkblood. I love a silly demon detective.
A great character,
right?
Yeah.
And I was mad when Cecil sent him to they banish him to whatever. I was like, he was the only one that was onto this case, and he probably would have been a big fucking help if you just let him into we know, but we need to figure out why. Give him that info, right? Because it also feels like a demon probably can't be killed, so he would be a good person to have fighting with Omni Man.
He gave me Harry Dresden vibes from.
I could see that.
Oh my god, I missed the Dresden Files.
Yeah, those were the vibes I was getting from. I really liked that kind of detective angle that they were taking with him, and then they banished him to hell.
So, yes, I feel like that's a great call out. I feel like he's he was probably one of my favorite characters in terms of someone who had just had a few attributes plucked from all of these major characters. For me, including Etrigan the Demon with DC, Rorschach from Watchmen, and then obviously Hellboy.
Yeah. And I was like, I like that he leaves that Army of Darkness looking book for the mom to find, which is what kind of sets her off. More so thinking that he did do it, which later, she finds out that he did.
All that math she did to get him to pick up food so she'd have 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was stressing out.
Yes. I was like, he's going to pop your head, Sandra Oh. We saw what he did to the Immortal. Yeah, all of that was so good. The tension there. And the fucking math she had to do to send him all over. And I was just like, oh God, if you have 1 minute wrong in being who I am, I'm always 5 minutes late, so I would definitely mess this up and get murdered. I'd be he'd come home and I'd have all the files in my hand. I'd be oh shit, nothing. I wasn't looking at anything. But so Robot assembles the new Guardians. He trains them, blah, blah, blah. He also kind of falls in love with Monster Girl. We learn Robot also is there is a human form. In a very weird reveal, there's a human weird blob baby form sitting in another thing. And he reaches out to the Mauler Twins to build him a new body that is based off Rexplode because he saw that Monster Girl was attracted to him. That plot felt a little what are we doing here to me? I don't know. How did you guys? For me, that would be the only thing that was a little bit weak.
It's very weird.
Yeah, no, it was.
It's very weird. However, considering what Monster Girl and Robot literally experience years down the line, it will all make sense. But right now, it just feels I don't know. I mean, if I had the Mauler Twins building me a body, I would come out looking like Nicki Minaj, not a hero boy. But yes, all of that definitely builds into something into the future.
It was so weird to watch it, but at first I thought there was something more nefarious going on.
Yes.
Robot would do some weird ass stuff, and I thought something nefarious was going on. But it makes sense that he'd want a new body, though. I do think the implications of taking Rexplode's DNA and making his body out of Rexplode is I understand why Rexplode was so angry at that point.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, you were violated basically.
You just cloned me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I would also not feel happy about that. I'd be like, excuse me, that looks just like me. What the fuck are you doing? And also might not feel so great that, oh, he did it to romance that other child on our team. Great, cool.
Who's up to 7 years old. It's so odd.
But I feel like you said, it definitely felt I was thinking like, oh, this is based on a comic. We'll probably go back to that. That'll probably be a thing we do later, which, like you said, we do. So the Mark's mother finds out but Cecil Cecil knows from the start, right? That it was Omni Man.
He suspects, I think, but he can't do anything about it.
Right, because as we see at the end, he just kind of murders all of them once they try to fight back. But I was glad when he came in to save the mom. I was like, yes, please go with these people, because Jesus Christ, I was so worried that he was going to murder the mom. Because one, I liked her, and I also really like Mark. So I'm like, please don't kill her. I know you pop everyone's head, but like, just don't. Going into the finale, that was something I was very worried about, was like, what characters will survive? I mean, it's before the finale that Omni Man sees William, and I was like, fuck, is he gonna kill William?
Yeah, I thought they even had me there, because I'm like, shit, he's gonna kill him.
Right. I was like so worried for this little JB. I was like, no, don't kill the one J character. But
what's really fucked though is, what is it, episode 6 or 4, when Mark goes to Mars,
Mm-hmm.
and then like Omni-Man, Nolan and Debbie, like they go on this let's rekindle our love type, date and stuff like that while he's gone. So like, just think of that, because like there are moments where, intimate moments, whatever, shared between them, where like you see that she really loves him, and then even though he is a complete piece of shit, there is like something there for her, which just makes, again, what he says in that finale even more terrible, because like, wow, what a master manipulator.
Yeah.
It was still traumatizing.
Yeah. So going into the finale, I remember even thinking like, God, this like recap needs to be like an hour and a half, because so much happened at that point. But like the episode before the finale ends with like the immortal is brought back to life by the twins. I don't know why he goes to fight Omni Man. I'm like, but you're just going to die, which he does. I don't know what different, like Omni Man chopped his head off with like one quick like slap. What is this man going to do as a zombie, right? Like
Abraham Lincoln died not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Do you know how long it took me to realize? I was like, oh, is it supposed to be their version of Vandal Savage? Got it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes all the sense.
But so that battle was so intense just because he rips him in half in front of his son. And Mark quickly realizes his dad is not a good guy. Like he realizes this, and he's just like, I can't remember. Oh, so does the fight start I can't remember if it's in the episode before or in the finale, but so they have their fight, and Mark, the voice acting he's doing is so good. It like hurt my heart when he's like, someone has to be controlling you. And he's like clearly saying it for him. Like he knows that's not the case, but he wants it to be the case. And like, I feel like that's relatable to anyone who has loved ones who do things that are shitty. It's like, you don't want to believe they're doing a shitty thing. But like, he watched it happen. He watched the immortal get ripped in half and got splattered with his guts. So there's kind of no pretending at this point. We get their talk, which Omni Man reveals his actual backstory. Steph, give us that backstory.
It is like, it's like colonizer times 9,000, like the power level. Vegeta, that's what he was looking at. So the story goes of Viltrum is that it was this planet, is this planet that, wanted to be the strongest empire in the galaxy. And for a time that they were, until they weren't happy with that anymore, like colonizers, and decided they wanted to be the only planet or empire in the whole everything, right? So they pull a Thanos on themselves, and they get rid of damn near half the population in like these brutal fights. And then sometime later, Omni Man is born. He joins up with the military. You want to talk about Marvel and military propaganda? Like, this is what the real is. But anyway, like he joins their military efforts. Is only a select few, because it's always that. And he's assigned Earth. And he gets sidetracked because apparently Debbie put the Hellcat SRT on him, and they ended up having Mark, and he was, patiently waiting for Mark to get his power so that he could I guess he figured he could have like a 2-for-1, 17 years raising a kid, and then he'll have backup for when it's time for Viltrum to come and tell Earth that they're going to become the part of the Viltrum Empire or whatever. And it's really terrible.
My question is like, okay, so they're definitely not getting like spices from Earth, like what's
right.
what are they getting out of this? Like conquering people?
They don't get anything out of it. It's just at this point, when they decided they just wanted to be the main one in the universe, it's literally just a power thing. Because if you do not agree, he lets Mark know, like, we'll just destroy the planet. Instead of, if they will not bow to us and they're going to give us too much trouble, then we're just going to destroy the planet.
Which makes sense because the Viltrumites and Viltrum, like most empires, were based off the Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly how they rolled too. It was either you comply or we torch your entire, country to the ground. And then
no rhyme or reason. Just because what is that? The Joker. Some civilizations just want to see the universe burn.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wow, this edible has me on my P's and Q's, y'all.
The Hellcat SRT really just sent me to Viltrum, so thank you for that. But what I find interesting about all of this is, like, I feel like Kirkman really is digging into certain pockets of truth that I don't think we like to allow ourselves to not necessarily partake in, but I feel like there's always a suspension of belief that is attached with comic books and superheroes in general. And we always have this age-old debate, like if Superman would beat Batman, and it's always Batman's got the expertise and like he'll like strategically like plot things out. And it's like, no, this man has a strength of 1,000 suns. Like, if he wants to kill Batman, there is nothing that Batman can do about it. Like, I'm very much under that belief, and it's nice to see this played out outside of like some, I don't know, random TikTok scenario,
Random TikTok scenario.
I loved seeing that too, because I'm sorry for any Batman fans out there. I'm not the biggest Batman fan, especially with like, Gotham.
Oh my God, I gotta subscribe to your YouTube again, just off that. Okay. Let me make another account.
Because he's just he's the richest person in the city and doing nothing about it, and just like spending money on his toys just so that he can feel good. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm gonna make a third account.
It just bothers me. It bothers me so much.
I mean, why wouldn't it? Because Batman is the only hero I know who will not kill his formidable villains, but will break the spines of a henchman without a semblance of a doubt. And then they're stuck, in Gotham Grace Hospital paying off Wayne Tech bills
that he's getting, because it's Wayne. It's the Wayne Gotham Hospital or what. Like, as they're rushing people to the ER, those people are like passing the photo of his dad, who is like, hanging up because his dad worked there. Like, wasn't his dad like chief whatever of
See, part of me wants a nice world chaos order for Gotham and be like, girl, return to how the girls used to do in the 1400s in France. Go ahead and take her out of the Bat Castle and hang her from the rafters. Like, she'll be okay. And like, the poor has a limit.
And he doesn't kill them because he knows that they're going to get free. And if he kills them all, then what is he going to do with all his toys?
Nothing. Because I mean, you have to be embarrassed. You've been fighting crime in Gotham for almost a century now. It still look the same. Yeah. Y'all don't have no flying cars or nothing.
Meanwhile, the Joker ain't aged today. Fenty red lipstick still on lock. The crowbar looking real cute.
Hitting them over the head with a her bag full of bricks. Oh, if you have not seen that episode of Justice League, it is from season 1. I think it's episode 8 or 9, but it is really worth your time because, that scene. But back to Omni Man. Wow, like what a way to, because first off, the fact that everything is being recorded, but no, before he tore the Immortal apart. That whatever that little cute beam was that they tried to knock him out with, and he just flies up and just destroys it. How should, like, I mean, because I feel like they really thought that that might have been like one of their last efforts, and to have that destroyed so easily and so quickly, like, that's scary as hell.
Yeah.
Didn't she say it was like $40 million?
Or something like that.
It was like $40 billion. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of tech. Like, which is funny, and it also begs the question of, like, right now he took out the Guardians of the Globe, and the new Guardians of the Globe just don't seem up to par with the old ones. And now you just have Invincible, and he's still a teenager that barely has any experience. So when he totally got pummeled by Omni Man, I was like, I'm glad they did this, and because it just didn't make sense for Invincible to be able to beat Omni Man. I was like, I'm glad that he got his ass beat, because like that makes sense to me that would happen.
I saw the Invincible Twitter account retweet something that was like, mark every episode of Invincible, and it was like a picture of Peter Griffin laying on the floor with like his bones broken, bleeding. And I feel like that's true. Like every episode, like Battle Cat, I was like, is he die? Like there's so many moments when I'm like, is Mark dead? When his dad is like pushing him into mountains and he's like gurgling blood, I was like, does he die? Is that all his end? Like, how does he alive?
Did anybody else freak out when they're playing catch and that ball went right above the airplane? I was like, oh my gosh, I thought they were about to... That seems just super dangerous to me.
Yeah, I thought they were going to kill a whole plane of people on Spirit Airlines on their way to Miami playing catch.
Me flying to LA on my shitty Spirit Airlines flight.
Girl.
I was like, this does not seem safe. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Well, I will say the finale felt like there was almost one too many just punching scenes. They do a good job.
I loved it though.
It's well done, but it felt like my thought process was going back and forth between, this is a world with a lot of superheroes. Couldn't there be more heroes than just the Guardians of the Globe that are like coming to help? But then also,
but you know what, Ian? Because even if I was a hero in that world, I would have been like, wow, so I'm going to continue binge watching this thing on Netflix.
Good luck to them.
Yeah, like, ooh, good luck, girl.
And the Guardians of the Globe had it right, because they're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do, but we can go out there and try to like minimize the collateral damage.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
because like that was a lot of collateral. Like he literally used his son's body to kill people. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, the actual trauma from that.
A whole train line. Like, Jesus Christ.
But I mean, he took his son to Subway and he ate fresh.
And it was more than a foot long, so.
Oh no.
And like when he throws him into that building and he's trying to save that mother and child.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Like,
yeah, and then the arm, and I was like, oh no.
I was watching that with my husband, and he just told me, he was like, hey, this is what we don't see in those superhero movies, is like the people inside those buildings that are just dying. Like, and we're actually seeing it. He's like, this is what I like about the show, is that we're actually seeing like the collateral damage, like the people affected by that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Cause like Marvel don't do it. Like, cause
New York was looking like that.
Yeah.
Right.
It specifically in like certain frame by frames is the fight with Superman and Zod in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, like certain like there's already a YouTube video about it now that should be up, but it is almost verbatim when they're just having sort of like, I don't know, the sky tennis punches, like all of that is like it.
So a lot of those DC movies, they do that, but they don't, it's like just the damage, but this is like, they're doing the damage on purpose, right? Like we are supposed to understand that Mark is traumatized, and this is a fucking awful thing, awful and hopeless fight that he is going through with his father. So it's like, you know, that woman and child that he does not save, that's supposed to, like, it's not just like, oh, well, gotta keep fighting. It's like, he is upset, and it is understandable. And like, that's why I don't mind the violence as much, because it's not like it just happens and everyone's smiling afterwards. It's like it happens and he is upset.
Right.
And we are upset. And like, that's that's why I don't find the violence like bad. Like there was a lot of it, but it made sense story wise. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does make sense. And I just think of the boys in that, what was that, episode 2 or 3? The one where Stormfront goes in and like murders that whole building of Black people.
Oh, Jesus.
That felt, I don't know, the difference between those two, because like both of those scenes are like showing like, yeah, this is actually what happens when regular humans come in contact with superheroes or whatever who mean them all the harm.
Mm.
I don't know, like there was just a difference because I get that they had to establish that Stormfront was like this racist no good, but I don't know, like it just felt, it didn't serve the same purpose or come off as effective to me than this scene. Like, because you know that Nolan is trying to like bring home the point to Mark, like these people mean absolutely nothing to me. So let me, in this fight, I'm going to, one, use your body to kill people, but also like destroy a little part of the city to just prove a point to you. And then also when they go to the mountains, like just destroyed a whole town. Again, just to prove a point. Like, how fucked is that?
Yeah.
It's like killing ants.
He crossed several ecosystems to do so.
Mm-hmm.
God. Yeah.
Another thing, the reason why I brought up the boys situation, because even like what Mark was trying to say, like this is clearly brown skin mother and daughter or whatever, but you do see her arm there. That type of, I don't know, like something about that is, I'm like, I get it versus, you know, this other thing that went on way too long because y'all just don't know when to stop. Again, like it just served I get why and how it served the story or whatever, but I don't know, or maybe it's just the animation. I just feel like Invincible just does what the boys wants to do and sometimes does do well, but in a way that doesn't feel tone deaf.
But the boys feels less purposeful, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
And like Stormfront, like I mean, I love the portrayal of the character, but like sometimes it just didn't feel like right to me. And then it's all harkening back to like the Nazi stuff, and it was like I almost get like, oh yeah, we're super powerful and therefore everybody else is beneath me, but like the Nazi thing just seemed so,
it's too much.
yeah, it was a little too much. It was like over the top.
Because when you're dealing with sort of, let's just say, racism on that scale, that is not what we face on a day-to-day, right? Like, that is not what the average microaggression looks like to the average Black person or queer person or like Black woman. Like, and so I think to always take it to those heights, like I don't know, Nazi lore is very boring for me in that sense that like, I don't know, it gets to a point where it's like, can you find another reason for you guys to be racist? Or do you just want to, you know, do this?
Yeah, there's more racism than like, everybody brings it back to Nazis. Oh yeah, they're evil because they're Nazis. And I'm like, okay, but there's so many more evil people in the world that aren't Nazis.
There are so many
like
more evil people in the world, and the Nazis were heavily inspired by antebellum South, like in a lot of their rhetoric. So I don't know. I'm just always like, this should not be the thing that we always go to.
No, and then also like Nazis aren't being passive aggressive to me in a work
Yes,
Slack.
Exactly. Exactly. It is not a Nazi following me around the store at Barney's. Like it's not.
You know, that's funny. There was, I can't remember who wrote it, but back when Aaron and I worked for Geeks Out, someone did write a piece that was actually about that. It was said like, it was like called No More Nazis. And it was like how that like basically talking about that. And that was the first time I heard someone mention that. And this was a while ago. And I remember like, I've kind of always thought about that moving forward. Like, all right, we're good on Nazis. Like, like there are, like you said, there are plenty of other villains that aren't just like Nazis. Like, so I get a little like about that. Like, I'm glad Omni Man isn't also like, look, he is a villain and he thinks he's doing right, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And like that shit is at this point, we're good on Nazis. I feel like,
well, because everybody pins all the villainous acts on like Nazis, like only Nazis are like the bad people. No, right. It's not just Nazis. There's bad people everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's almost a cop-out at this point.
And they have like very different motivations. Like for those who don't know, I love doing character studies on villains. They are usually my favorite characters. And I feel like take Cersei from Game of Thrones. That is a perfect example of someone who is, yes, technically evil on like a scale of 1 to 10. She's probably like a soft like 8, sure. But her motivations have nothing to do with race, nothing to do, actually everything to do with gender in her case. You know, and that is like sort of a driving motivation for her, is the way men have treated her. But I don't know. I just, in a fictional sense, there's too much you can do with world building to always cop out to that.
Yeah.
Leave it to Red Skull and let's move.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think Omni Man really is like one of like a very interesting villain. Like, the way the story is like built around him, I think he's a very, not compelling, but he's just interesting, because it's like you feel bad for the main character because he is the main character's father, even if we hate him. And I think that makes for a dynamic that I don't know that I can say that I've genuinely seen before, but it's definitely. So I tweeted this when I was watching, I forget, like near the end. I started when I was a like teen. I used to like, this was like my like way into writing, was I used to like draw my own comics and like plot out stories and stuff. And I like had a story that I like half finished that I then was like turned it into a half finished YA novel, and like kind of was influenced by Invincible without me ever having to read it, because I'm sure so many other comics I've read have been influenced by Invincible. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, that's like wild that like this story could influence so many things, that it could definitely influence something I wrote without me knowing it. And I think that says a lot about the story here, because I think the story being told is so different than your typical superhero story.
And usually with your superhero story, you don't have the parents, or even fantasy stories, you don't have the parents involved so much, or like to this degree. Yeah. And what I like about Omni Man is, like, besides the whole being a murderer and like beating up his son at the end of the last episode, like, he's actually a pretty good dad. He's like a better dad than my dad. Sorry, Dad. And like I was like he goes out and he makes that effort, and I'm like, he seems to make that effort as a husband, you know, like in all aspects. I like that. I like that he can be somebody who, and this is something I tell people a lot, is like, you can have people who like do good things, but they're also bad people at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And those make for the most charming and deceptive villains that you'll come across. You know what Invincible reminds me of more than anything, more than superhero lore? It gives me HBO's Undoing. It is.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. It is. Okay, Ian, did you say you haven't seen it?
Correct. Yeah, no.
I haven't seen it either.
You both should watch it and just pay attention to Hugh Grant's character. And I think if you watch this now after watching Invincible, you'll see what I mean.
All right.
So I can't say anything now because I don't want to spoil anything. But it's a great villain character piece. And like this show, it does try to throw a few curveballs in terms of like figuring out the whodunit method of it all. But damn it, I can't go fully into this allegory because you two have not seen it.
Well, Aaron, related to another good villain, I forget how far you got in Buffy.
I got to season 5. Season 5 is Glory, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, because I was gonna bring up Glory because
I love Glory.
Right? She's so iconic, and the reason she's such a good villain is because she doesn't give a shit about Buffy. Like, she's making fun of them. She's saying they're beneath her, and they are. Like, she could murder them very easily. And she's like more concerned with like looking fabulous and getting fucking back home, right? Like, that's all she gives a shit about. And for me, like, I love that we were able to just see her, this like hell god, be fucking evil. She likes to look good, which, like, okay, great. But like, she was evil, and we let her be evil. There wasn't like relating back to what we're talking about, this, she wasn't like part of like Nazis, or she just didn't care about humans. And if she needed to murder them, she would. She didn't care. And like, for me, I kind of like that type of villain, that we just like allow them to be evil.
Because it's also like really unsettling because you don't have an explanation. The villains that you cannot find explanations for, which is, it's like one of the reasons why I did not care for the Maleficent remake Disney did. Because Maleficent was one of the most terrifying Disney villains that I'd ever seen. And she didn't really have a reason. In fact, I mean, yes, it was very petty to be like, well, you didn't invite me to your baby shower, so your child can choke. um, but outside of that, like, she was just a natural chaos bringer. And I feel like the only character or the only villain that we kind of pop culturally accept in that realm is the Joker, and I'm kind of over it.
I've seen the baby shower villains on Facebook.
Yes.
I know exactly which ones you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can see the profile picture right here.
Someone please do this TikTok right now.
But yeah, like I think characters like that, and the reason I brought up Glory too is because she was stronger than our hero. And like way stronger than every other character. And that's how Omni Man is, right? Like he definitely could murder any of these people. I mean, he beats the shit out of his son, but they are at least more of a match than him versus literally. I mean, we saw our like Justice League / Avengers analog in that first episode get completely slaughtered by him. And he doesn't really feel much, right? There's no feeling when he's just like, all right, you're bothering me. Boop, there's your head. Boop, there's your arms. Like, and that's how he works. And I kind of love that shit. Which is where I want to go is I was a little disappointed when he like beats Mark to death and he's like gurgling blood in that mountaintop. And he's like, what do you have left? And Mark like slurs out like, I still have you. I would be such a gay bitch. I'd be like, well, motherfucker, if you hadn't tried to kill me, here I am. I have nothing. Like, I feel like I would be so out of my mind with rage and anger while also dying that I would just be immediately shitty about it. And I didn't love that Mark was still like, but I love you, Dad. I'm like, you love him? What? Why? Like, he just called your mother a pet. He just like said that he doesn't mind murdering the whole world. Like, I wanted Mark to be a little bit more angry at his dad. I mean, I get that's why Omni Man flies off, because his son still loves him and he has that memory of when he picks him up when he's a little kid, which is precious. I don't know. I felt a little bit of blue balls there for that scene. What do you guys think?
Oh my goodness, Ian. I cannot lie. I cried a little bit. Because he's obviously trying to get his dad to like see like his humanity, which we see in that flashback is when Debbie calls him. He's like, this is what being a human is like. And he's thinking about that while this is happening. And then he calls out, he's like, you, Dad, like you are going to be the one who's still there for me 500 years from now. And that's when it finally kind of like, it seems like something clicks for him and he takes off. And I liked that. I like that because I don't think that there was I can't think of another way to like end that portion of it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't expect Omni Man to be, I kind of thought he would be like our villain here and then go away. Like I kind of thought it was going to be Mark has to kill him kind of thing, which I can appreciate if we're going to keep him around. I don't know, it felt a little unfulfilling to me at the end there. Steph, what did you think?
Kind of similar to Alastair, because like, I don't know. I think because they showed that little flashback or whatever, and they're just narratively like trying to bring home the point that Mark, unfortunately naively still believes that he can appeal to any of the like humanity that his dad possibly picked up in the 17 years that he'd been there. And it's just heartbreaking. So I kind of like the move in that way, because now I'm further invested in how Mark is going to react moving forward. Like as the trauma of everything that just happened, like after he's had days or actually weeks now to like kind of process everything, like where he goes from there. Because, his dad doesn't kill him and he flies off. And like, unfortunately, for a lot of kids, no matter how shitty their parents are, there's still that hope that they'll still be your parent.
Yeah.
And I just kind of felt like in that moment, as fucked up as it was, like Mark was still kind of hoping that, and it was just really heartbreaking. And again, because it's Mark and Steve Ewing is, voicing that character, he just really kind of sells it in a way that
so good.
Like in a way that I couldn't, even if I really wanted to be mad, like I couldn't, because like I can hear that emotion there. Damn them for making me like And you see like Omni Man have a little bit of tears as he flies off. And it's not even like I saw that and felt bad for him, but it was just like, like you really did have a choice, but you decided to side with your murderous planet. But this, like, this is literally what you chose.
Yeah, like you did this, motherfucker. Like you did all this. Like your son is like half dead on a mountain because of you. Mm-hmm. And all those superheroes are dead, and that whole half of Chicago is dead because of you.
There's no going back on that. No going back on that. Like
that's the thing where I kept thinking, like, well, he can't get a redemption because he murdered half a city and a full team of superheroes.
Aaron. Yeah, I didn't want to. Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess we will. Alastair and I will see you in season.
Well, here's the thing, and I feel like even in you guys' discourse over, like, just like literally the last 40 seconds of you guys talking, like there is still want, I think, overall for him to like redeem himself in some way, and I feel like we. Pop culturally speaking, love when villains do this for us. I feel like Loki's a great example, but Loki also did not call. Actually, yes, she did. First Avengers movie, Miss Loki was trying it, but I think Ian, to your original question, I don't think that I wanted him to be angry because he is supposed to embody so much of these like altruistic characters. And so I immediately think of how would Peter react, Peter Parker, if he was in this exact same predicament, if Uncle Ben was a homicidal asshole. And I feel like Peter would break. And I feel like it's something that's necessary for two reasons. He is still 17, and we need to see more soft straight men like this, you know? And I feel like this is why queer men love Nightwing, Gambit, Hawkeye, like these sort of characters that are not so heteronormative in the way that they behave and emote. And I feel like he's a great example. And I do think also making him Asian American helped with that too. Like, like it wasn't just, you know, cis het white macho menace flailing on the screen. But yeah, I feel for him, and I think that moment was meant to be a punch to the gut. I feel like that mirrored by when, you know, his mom is in a bedroom like bawling her eyes out. And I was like, I get it. This is the man that he idolized for 17 years. And he finds out within the span of 2 hours how much of a dick he is. Yeah. Now, on top of being a dick, you get like abused and traumatized relentlessly.
I mean, they're layering on the trauma. And also, like, you don't immediately stop like loving people who you're loving just because they're a horrible person. Like, if I find out tomorrow that my mom's actually secretly a murderer, like, I wouldn't like stop loving my mom. Like, I definitely want her to like get help / you know, like be accountable for her, like what she did. But you know, you don't automatically stop loving somebody just because you find out new information about them. You have to process that, and hopefully we see him process this.
Yeah. I mean, I think we do need an episode of processing because he didn't quite get that. We kind of get it at the end here when he like sees his mother sobbing and he kind of goes out with his friends. We get a little bit of it, but yeah, I think I would like a little bit more because he would definitely be very traumatized about everything that happened, right? Like from the like his father using his body to murder people to his father being a murderer to what his father said about his mother and all that shit. There would definitely be a lot of trauma for our poor precious Mark. All right, I think we're at the end here. I guess like what was instead of like favorite scene I guess like favorite moment from the series. Aaron?
Low key, any scene with Amber. I just felt she kept Mark really on his toes, barely. But it's interesting because there was a lot of online discourse about like, I don't know, just a lot of bros being like, oh, Amber's being ridiculous. And I'm like, she's not. She's not. All we have to do is be honest. But yeah, Amber, she's great.
I liked Amber. I put in my notes that she's the type of girl that I would have pretended to have a crush on, but really would have been like more of a friend crush / I wanted to be her because I would have thought she was like the cool.
She
like,
definitely would have texted you while you were at the lunch table and being like, hand emoji with the painted nails.
Yes. Like you and I would when we're in the same room.
Yes.
Stephanie, what was your favorite like thing or moment from the series?
You know what? I think the stuff with Doc Seismic, it was just
Yeah.
like a really
Yes.
fun, you know, homage to like superhero tropes or whatever when they're fighting him. And Doc Seismic was also kind of funny too. So I just really enjoyed seeing Mark and Eve team up. And like that whole sequence was great before things went horribly wrong.
And the thing is, like, Doc Seismic, like, what he was saying made sense. And I was like, okay. But he's the villain in this scenario. It seemed very, like, I don't know. It seemed very Marvel to me.
Well, you better say it.
Alistair, what was your favorite moment?
So I like when Adam Eve just told her parents off and just like left, and then like
I did like
created
that.
a non-door so that they wouldn't follow her. I liked it because like it just didn't make sense that her father just like would not accept the fact that she was like a capable woman. Like he would just not accept it, and she said, "You know, freak it. I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna deal with it anymore. I'm just gonna leave." And I like that because sometimes you just can't argue with people. You just need to leave.
And you know what? It's very indicative of a very popular redhead telepath in Marvel.
Oh no.
It is.
Like it is like that was such Gene commentary moment for me. I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. Massachusetts.
Minus that ugly green frock they have her in right now.
Girl.
Oh my god.
Let's talk about the hell.
I just had to bring that up. I'm sorry.
That stupid green just makes me mad every time I see it. But yeah, I think my favorite, it's weird to say, but I think my favorite is that ending of that first episode, just because I wasn't expecting it, and it was just such a holy shit 5 minutes of like watching our Avengers / Justice League members just getting like completely murdered. And it definitely like changed the way I was, it like set the tone for the rest of the series of me being anxious that he was going to do it again, to more loved ones, and the fact that I knew that he couldn't even be defeated by the like biggest superhero team in this universe, who all like, you know, we had our like Batman type dude, we had our Wonder Woman type character, like we had very those type of characters, and he fucking murdered them all. What grade do you give the series, Aaron?
I would give it a solid A. I think this series does a really great job of delivering comic book commentary while also establishing something fresh and like interesting, and still very timely. So yeah.
Alistair?
I would give it an A and a gold star, you know, with like a smiley face as you'd sometimes get.
Stephanie?
I'm also giving it a solid A. Just everything that Aaron said is just for the comic. Like the comic is readable. Like I would tell anybody to like go read that, but it just really does a great way. It does a great job of fixing some of the stuff in the comics that was kind of like, are y'all sure? And pulling from the stuff that was really great from it. So solid A, and I'm so happy that it has another 2 seasons.
Yeah, renewed for 2 and 3.
Psyched.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. With a solid, absolute solid A. It's so good. If you haven't checked it out. But even though we spoiled it for you, I'm sure you probably already did check it out. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for listening. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and other corners of the internet where you get your podcasts. You can find us on all social media platforms at SlayerFestX98. You can find me at IanXCarlos. And if you want to support the podcast, you can subscribe to our Patreon, where you get access to 3 to 4 monthly bonus episodes of the podcast a month, my Nudie Judy episodes that I do with Alistair's husband, Zachary, and access to our private Facebook group and more. Alistair, where can everyone find you?
You can find me as Alistair Reviews It on YouTube, and then Alistair J. Patton on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And Stephanie, where can everyone find you?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph_I_well. You can check out my website, wisesteph.com. And if you buy comics on July 27th, 2021, Wonder Woman Black and Gold #2 will be out. And I'm telling you this because I wrote a story in it and I want you to read it.
We love Stephanie also wrote a story in, was it Marvel Legacies?
Yes, Marvel Voices Legacy. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, Marvel Voices Legacy #1. It's a Monica Rambeau story. It's really cute. Features some really broke superheroes, and you should also check that out.
And Aaron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at magical.poppy, P-A-P-I, on Instagram and the Twitters and the Talk of Ticks.
All right, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye.